Now, Grace Meng is a senior researcher at Human Rights Watch, and she joins us now from Los Angeles to discuss the implications of this ban. Thank you so much for speaking to us here at France 24 this morning. Give me you're tired, you're poor, you're huddled masses yearning to break free. It seems that the inscription, that famous inscription on the Statue of Liberty, no longer applies in the US today.
It is a heartbreaking time in the U.S. In our history, and that the fact that the decision came down on Holocaust Remembrance Day is particularly ironic and devastating. The fact that this order is reportedly meant to fight terrorism, but will hurt terrorism victims and others who are vulnerable to persecution, it's just a terrible, terrible day.
Now, there are many NGOs who are fighting this measure. We are seeing people gathering at the airports to try and do what they can to push back. But what realistically can groups such as yours do to fight this executive order?
So Trump's power, as significant as it is not the only source of power in U.S. government. The courts, Congress, certainly the public can do a lot to make their voices heard. Already we have seen the courts block temporarily the deportations of people who are already in the U.S. at these airports, and we expect more lawsuits to be filed.
More lawsuits being filed. We are seeing this opposition, but it is important to remember that there are many American citizens who support what Trump is doing. He does have support carrying out this measure.
He does have support, and there are many who also oppose him, as you can see, quite vocally. And this is actually an issue that doesn't necessarily fall along simple sort of left-right conservative liberal lines. There are certainly many conservatives, many religious conservatives who are very pro-refugee, who have been actively helping to resettle refugees in their communities. And I expect many of them will be making their voices heard as well.
But we have seen politicians such as the Vice President himself who said that he does not support a Muslim ban. Many people speaking out during the election, during the primary. And they're not speaking out now because, one would assume, there is support behind the measure.
Well, I think Vice President Pence is a special case in that he said that, but he was very anti-refugee as governor of Indiana. I think that what's exciting about what's happening now is that now that the action has actually gone into effect, we are seeing galvanization of the public. We are seeing people who see how devastating the impact is, that it's not only limited to refugees, that it's affecting permanent residents, it's affecting people that they know, their neighbors, their community members, their family members.
Do you expect to be able to get President Trump to back down?
I cannot predict President Trump's behavior or what he is thinking, but I do know that this is a democratic society. And I think the more that the public, that Congress, that the courts are able to check his power, that's what needs to happen.
Okay, you say the US is a democratic society. We have had politicians speaking in favour of this ban, saying that the US is a compassionate nature. But given the images that we're broadcasting, that broadcasters in the US are sending out from what's happening in the United States, what message is this sending out to the wider world?
I think that's one of the most damaging aspects of Trump's executive action, is that it is sending a message to leaders around the world at a time when the refugee crisis is at its height, that such isolationist behavior is acceptable, and it is not.
OK, Grace Meng, that's unfortunately all we have time for. But thank you so much for speaking to us here at France 24 this morning. That's Grace Meng, a senior researcher at Human Rights Watch, talking to us from Los Angeles. Well,